Good evening and welcome. My name is Eric Ortiz, and I'm the president of Lowry Hill East Neighborhood Association, or LHENA. Thank you for joining us for this LHENA talk with Lisa Clemons. Lisa is the founder and director of a Mother's Love Initiative, a grassroots organization in Minneapolis that is working to reduce gun violence, domestic violence, and build strong families with strong futures. Lisa's talk tonight will focus on public safety in Minneapolis, her work with the Mother's Love, and how we can all work together to push for peace. This talk will be recorded and shared publicly for future viewings. Before we get started, I just want to review LHENA's online code of conduct. LHENA is a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization that represents the Minneapolis community of Lowry Hill East, also known as the Wedge. We welcome discourse, but we ask that everyone here be respectful when they speak or comment on Zoom and Facebook. Please respect the views of others without personal attacks. We also ask that you leave yourself on mute unless called on. If your comments are in violation of our online policy, a moderator will give you a warning. If your comments continue to violate our online code of conduct, you will be removed from the talk. Deliberately unmuting and causing disruption, cursing, or the use of hate speech will lead to immediate removal. We're looking forward to a great talk, and we hope we don't have to remove anyone. The sponsor for this talk is Cub Foods, and we're grateful for that sponsorship. Cub Foods is an American supermarket chain that operates 81 stores in Minnesota and Illinois. Cub was founded in Stillwater, Minnesota in 1968 and now has many local grocery stores in Minneapolis and the surrounding areas. They're committed to delivering quality goods and great value for the community. Each year, Cub supports Minnesota and Minneapolis by partnering with many different community organizations to help make a difference in our local communities and beyond. One of those organizations that Cub partners with is Mother's Love, and we're very grateful for the sponsorship. As part of the sponsorship, half of the money that was donated will go to a Mother's Love. The other half will go to Lena to support Lena operations and help us continue to organize events like this, continue to provide programming and services to support our community. If you're interested in being a sponsor for a future Lena talk, let us know. We'll put a link in the Zoom comments where you can leave your information. Tonight's Lena talk with Lisa Clemons is all about pushing for peace in Minneapolis. Crime has surged across the city this year. According to Minneapolis crime statistics, to date, in 2021, there have been 78 homicides, 1,709 robberies, 2,089 burglaries, 2,595 aggravated assaults, and 3,119 auto thefts. In 2020, there were 405 carjackings, more than triple the number in 2019. These trends continue, and no parts of the city have been spared. But Minneapolis North Side has been especially hard hit with people being hurt and killed by gun violence. Some parts of the city have been described as war zones, with shootings, robberies, and carjackings becoming a regular occurrence. War is not a new human phenomenon. War has been a part of humanity's history since the beginning of civilization, and some of those wars have been started by lies. But just as wars can be started by lies, peace can be started by truth. We are honored to have a truth teller who is pushing for peace as our speaker tonight. Lisa Clemons is a respected community voice and leader across Minneapolis. She also was once a police officer in the Minneapolis Police Department. So she has a unique perspective on the current state of public safety in Minneapolis and how we can help increase the peace. Lisa understands that it takes a village to create peace in our communities and is working to bring back that village with the Mother's Love Initiative. Lisa is the founder and director of a Mother's Love. She has been working for many years as on the ground with boots on the ground organizations, helping to reduce violence in the city. We're happy to have her here to be a speaker for us tonight, to talk about the work she's doing with the Mother's Love, how she is working with nonprofits and for-profit organizations and law enforcement to help build a community and bring back that village mentality. We're going to learn tonight what are some of the best ways to address our community's public safety needs and challenges, how we as a community, all of us working together, business owners, employees, clients, customers, patrons, residents, and community members, can create a more connected, inviting, and prosperous community for everyone. After Lisa's talk, she will take questions from the community. So if you have a question for Lisa, you can leave it in the Zoom comments, and we'll try to answer as many questions as we can. Very honored to have Lisa as our speaker tonight, and look forward to a great talk. Thank you for being here, Lisa. All yours.
Hey, Eric, can I jump in? Carrie's here.
I'm sorry. Oh, Carrie. Yeah, this is Carrie Higgs, the Director of Community Relations and Communications for Cub. She's going to just say a few words about Cub Foods.
I'm sorry I'm a little late. I'm glad you sent me the link, but I was honored when you sent me the link, or when you sent me the proposal to be a part and to sponsor this talk with Lisa Clemons, because back in May of 2020, after the civil unrest, and we knew we had to rebuild our store on North Broadway. We were walking through our store, and we were fortunate enough to meet with Lisa, and we are so proud of the partnership that we have formed with Lisa. She's made a difference between on the north side, and she's made a difference in how we actually go to business. So our store on West Broadway, our Northside Cub store, actually has a community center that's a part of it, and that's because of Lisa, and that's because of her input. And I'm blessed to be able to work with Lisa. Probably every week I work with her one way or the other, and so you guys are lucky to have her tonight. We're proud of our partnership with Lisa, and I think what I'm most proud of our partnership with Lisa is that, and a Mother's Love Initiative, is that it's a give and take. We help her, she helps us. Like she knows everybody over there, her team does, and they're there for Cub, and we're there for them. And so it's truly Cub in the community. It's truly being there for the north side. So Lisa, you can take it away, but she's awesome.
Thank you,
lucky
Carrie.
to have her.
Thank you. I agree. We're very grateful to have her, and thank you, Cub. We're grateful for the sponsorship, Carrie. Appreciate it. Lisa, take it away. Oh, you're on mute, Lisa.
I was afraid I was going to do that. So I'm Lisa Clemons, often a thorn in people's side, but it's all in love. But when I started a Mother's Love Initiative, I knew when I left the Minneapolis Police Department that I wanted to do something to help keep young people out of the back of a squad car. That was always my mission, always my goal. So when I left the Minneapolis Police Department, I opened a childcare center with my brother, and then later with my sisters. The one with my sisters was over north, the one with my brother was over south inside Sabathany. One of the first things we decided to do as a family was to make sure that we hired the mothers of these children, because majority of the mothers that came into our center were single moms. So we wanted to create jobs, and I felt like if the county was going to pay us to care for these kids, we were going to use some of that money to pay parents to create jobs for them that would make them be part of the education process of their kids from 6 weeks to 12 years of age. And some of them went on to become teachers to work in daycares. They were daycare teachers for us. So it worked out the way we wanted. And when we moved over to Brooklyn Park, we kind of lost a lot of that because people from the North Minneapolis area couldn't move with us. So the next thing I did, I was just sitting and writing, and I'm one of those people that I have to keep writing until what's in my head comes all the way out. So I started writing this program for A Mother's Love, and part of that had a tutor house attached to it to talk about the invisible suitcase that young kids bring, that we wanted to empty that suitcase and fill it with some new memories and some new things that would give them the tools to advance themselves in life. So then I thought, well, if I'm going to do that for kids, I got to first make sure I'm doing that for parents, or especially for mothers. Because what I learned was that the most silent voice at any table was Black women, Black mothers especially. So when you look at statistics and it says 70% of households are headed by single mothers, well, in our community, that's a reality. That's not saying that we don't have some Black male support or whatever race you decide to date. It's not saying that we don't have that support, because we have uncles, grandfathers, brothers, but predominantly it's the single Black mother. So that was the only voice not ever at a table. And I noticed that when I was a cop, and I noticed that after I left the police department, and I wanted to do something to change that narrative. So when I wrote this program, I called on the people that I love the most, and that was people who had been in my life and in my history from high school, my time in the police department, and my time after I left the police department. So I wanted some diversity. I wanted Black women, Black mothers who had experienced everything, because I wanted us to be able to meet people where they were in their life and help them build out from there. So I was fortunate enough to get a mother who whose son is now in prison for killing a person who looks like him. So that's an African-American. I have a mother whose son was killed by someone who looks like him. I have myself, who was involved in a fatal shooting in a Minneapolis police department. I have a mother whose grandchild father was killed by a Minneapolis police officer. I have women who have had addiction problems, women who have been domestically abused, women who have been raped. I have people in my team who have been to prison or just to jail. I wanted to be able to represent all areas, and majority of us come from poverty, but we also have married couples, single, young mothers, OGs. We call us the old women, the OGs, the original grandmothers. So we have a mixture of everybody to represent the community. If I could say this, when I was a cop, the greatest moment in my life, if something was going bad on a call, the greatest moment in my life, and if you ask any cop, they'll tell you the same thing, was when a grandmother came out and silenced the community. Not only did she silence the community, she silenced the cops. And I always remember that. And I said, if I'm ever able to give that back as an OG, original grandmother, that I would do those things in the community. But A Mother's Love has been, it took us a long time. If I could be honest with you, I started it, I wrote it, started it in 2014. And for 4 years, there was not a table that had a chair for a Black woman that was running an organization in the community. And every time I went and I listened to a state address or a city address or a ward address, they always talked about the Black man and the Black boy. Well, we are very excited to hear those conversations. However, what it forgets is that there are Black mothers who are raising a Black son and a Black daughter. So to have our voices excluded, I needed to change that. So I would get up from those meetings very loudly and walk out of those meetings very loudly and make, I can't take it anymore. I just can't take it anymore. And then I started making phone calls and sending out some little not real nice text messages at times saying that I was sick of our voices not being heard. So I did that for 4 years, and I was paying the mothers to help me out of my pocket. And then once I started dipping into my kids' college money, I knew I had to put it on pause. So then I got a phone call from Deputy Chief Art Knight. And he said, Lisa, I need some help. And I said, what do you need help with? And he said, we got a lot of things going on downtown with our young mothers, and their babies are with them. And he said, can you please come help me? And I said, yeah. He said, you still have A Mother's Love? I said, yeah, I'll come down there and help you. And that's how A Mother's Love was resurrected to be part of our community and be a voice for our kids.
That is great. The state of public safety in Minneapolis right now, it's a very critical point. There's a lot of challenges. What would you say the biggest community needs are in Minneapolis and North Minneapolis today?
Unity is the number one thing. We need unity in the city. It can't be, they divide by, and I always tell people this, the city divides by wards. They'll say Ward 4, Ward 5, Ward 11. The young people divide by the highs and the lows, or by the numbers, like they in the 30s, meaning 30, 20 Aldrich, or they're in the 40s. So they divide by those numbers. But if you're a real North Sider, you simply say, I'm from the North Side. And it's the same thing for the South Side. No matter how gangs may divide the area, no matter how the city council and the mayor divides the area, residents call it North Minneapolis and South Minneapolis. So what lacks in that is being united on it being Minneapolis, and the resources that come to do the work in the community ends when the weather gets cold. And I don't know if a lot of people know that. So they want you to work from spring through the summer. And then when it gets cold, Minneapolis acts as if violence shuts down, mental health issues shut down, the needs of the people shut down. It doesn't. So for our young people, whether they're out and about engaging in gunfire or whatever, they are always on social media, continuing that fight. So by spring, you're asking us to once again catch up, because there's no funds to continue to do the work. A lot of what we need is already there. The problem is there's no person that's making sure that it's all united and that work gets done as a united front or as teams in these different areas.
How do you think we can, without a person right now, with the current, how do you think we do that?
So in every community, you have things, you have churches that has, especially for the Black community, you have churches, you have Black clergy, you have a lot of them. You have great people like Tito Wilson in Wilson's Barbershop. So you have a lot of Black barbers, because when we're talking about the crime and safety issue, I mean, let's be real about it. We're really talking more about the African-American and Somali community, because those are the highest numbers that are affected by this violence that we're seeing in the community. I have no problem saying that. What I have a problem with is that we can't say it and say what we need to make it, because then it looks like we're these savages or these angry. No, we are a people who are in trouble and need to not be afraid to say what we need to fix that problem. So in every community, you have churches, you have parks, you have schools, that inside those schools are a lot of great teachers and a lot of great principals. You have the police department, you have community organizations doing the boots on the ground work. You have nonprofit and for-profit organizations that offer jobs and tutoring. You have what you need already in your community. There has been no one that brings all those resources together in order to have an impact that you can see. So they're all doing work, but the community can't see it because it's not on a united front. And that's what's missing. You have neighborhood associations, you have organizations, you have everything you need. But the issue is the divide. I'm gonna give you 10,000, you 10,000, you 2,000, you 5,000. That's the divide. So if you have 10 youth organizations doing work, and they really are doing good work, but who knows who they are? And are they doing it together? And what is their message? So is your message to go get a job? Is your message to go to school? Is your message to be the bro? Or what is your message that you're delivering to our youth And how can we have a message that's delivered to all the youth together so that they have the same thinking and mentality, all of them, instead of separate thoughts? I don't know if I'm being clear, but I think the information that we give to youth should have some uniformity to it, but not enough that it stops them from showing us their gifts and their talents, because we don't tap into those things. So we talk more about the violence. We talk more about the education piece and beat math and reading into them, but we don't ever talk about their gifts and talents and build out from what's already within them. We try to shove into them what we want to be inside them. We don't pull out what's already within them. So there's nothing focused on our youth like that.
You know, part of your, all of that makes sense. And with a mother's love, you know, part of the work you do is mentoring youth and working with youth. How are you connecting with youth? And how could what you do, you know, how could others, you know, how could you work together with others to help, you know, reach those youth?
So what we do is go right to them. We're not afraid to go to them. We're not worried about being shot by them. Those are our kids. When you're a mother in a community, those are our kids. I don't care if we gave birth to them or not. Those are our kids. So we aren't afraid to go and approach them. I mean, I've hugged people who had a gun on them, and you can feel it on them. And I'll say to them in their ear, I can feel that. What are we doing with that? I mean, we just have those real conversations. But what we don't have is to offer them anything to leave that life behind. We don't even have a safe space to take them to work on changing their narrative. So when you have youth that at the beginning, they go to the hospitality house, a great organization. They go to Jerry Gamble's, a great organization. They go to the YMCA, great organization. But at some point, they age out of those organizations and they become those at-risk kids that we see as throwaways. There has been nothing built that would help that group of kids navigate life. So once they turn 18, we just look at them as adults, but they haven't been raised sometimes to be the adults that we think they should be. So there has to be like a at-risk youth center. We've been asking for that for years. I can tell you, I have for at least 6 years been asking for it, because in our time, we went to the Way, and that was where the 4th precinct is now. And that was a way for parents to get rid of us for a little while, but for others in the community, leaders, to instill some different things in us that kept us so busy that we couldn't be involved in the violence that had the potential of coming to Minneapolis. So we have nothing to offer them. There's absolutely nothing to offer them. There's nowhere to bring them. You cannot keep talking to them on a street corner and think that's going to affect some change somewhere. We need a place to work from, to change the narrative, to instill some pride, and in our case, some Black pride in them that has an historical backing attached to it, and then help them build out, tapping into those talents, those beautiful things about them. That's what we're missing.
Why do you think those requests to get, you know, place for at-risk youth programming more, you know, why have they not been heard? Why is it, you know, to this point? What do you think is missing?
I would feel bad in saying that I think to fix this problem, close down a resource string or a funding stream for the city, for the state, for the county. I mean, when you use the statistics off our backs and our bodies to get funding for different things within your city, within your state, but that does not come back to us in the community, I have to think that we are a financial commodity to the city, to the county, to the state. And I'm hopeful that I'm wrong, but I can assure you, without even seeing their funding request, that our Black bodies are within that funding request. So I think that we create money.
In order to get that money, then it may have to come from outside other sources than have been the sources to this point, because there is money out there.
Yeah. So let me say this. There is too much money out there. Minnesota is one of the richest states, and that's why I can't buy into the abolish the police or whatever label you want to attach to it. I can't buy into that because this is a rich state. We can have it all. There is no way that we as a people, and I'm not just talking about Black people, I'm talking everybody. There's no way that we can pay city taxes, state taxes, county taxes, and federal taxes. And we're in an argument about the smallest pot of money that is available to taxpayers, and that's the city's money. So there's no way you can tell me that a state this rich, for the city, the county, the state, and the federal government to not be able to come together and say, these are the things that they need in that city to make them whole again. How do we make that happen? So we're talking to a police department about, or a city, I should say, about mental health wellness. But why are we not talking to the state about that? I'm sorry, to the county about that. We're talking to a city about housing our unhoused. But why are we not talking about the county about that? Why are we not having greater expectations for the state about that? As taxpayers, we should be making a demand that everybody give an equal share to make sure that this problem is funded so that we can move forward and have healthy bodies and healthy minds in our community. Because at this point, what we have is more Black bodies in a prison and in a cemetery than we have in a college. That's a problem for me. We're not having the right conversation as a people.
Aubrey, I want to touch on a point you said earlier. I think a lot of, the root causes of the violence, public safety issues, poverty, come back to education and opportunities. If a lot of people have natural talents, so everybody has a natural gift and a passion. And if people could be, trained and taught to figure out what those passions are, and then those passions can be turned into businesses or, use those skills in positive ways. Because a lot of these, things, negative things that are being done, they're negative things, but they're putting skills to negative use. If people could just be guided in a positive way, youth could be shown the right path, to help people instead of hurt people. And I think, instead of, there are programs where instead of, asking for money or looking for money, you create the source of money yourself. And so you teach the entrepreneurial skills, how to create businesses. And then you can, instead of giving people fish to eat, you teach them how to fish for life. That idea. Getting back to that, what do you think of that?
Financial literacy is what's missing. And it should be started on every level of education, in elementary school, in junior high, and in high school. Those are things that should be taught in every level of your education. And that's not what we're seeing. But even talk about drug dealing on the corner. Those are future pharmacists and accountants. But we don't play on that to say, hey, if you could do all of this, look at what you can do on a legal side based on just the knowledge that you gained being a drug dealer in our community. We don't have a space that we can bring people to and introduce them to something else. So a Mother's Love may be doing something We Push for Peace may be doing something. Jalila may be doing something as Shiloh with people. Sasha may be doing something under the Office of Violence Prevention. I think the issue becomes being focused. We can interrupt anything we want to, but if we are not staying the course and following that body from the interruption to building something out for that person so that they're never part of that interruption again, that's where we keep losing. Is more people engaged in the things that we're seeing in the community than people will admit. They like to say it's just a few people who's doing that. That to me is a blatant lie. There are a lot more young people engaged in this. I'm gonna jump subject just a minute, but it'll go back to this. So when I did become part of all of Minneapolis, the reason I became part of all of Minneapolis was because it encompassed all of Minneapolis, or I don't get involved in politics like that. But I decided that I was going to talk to young Black people in the community to find out where they stood. And one of the things that they kept saying to me over and over again, and they still say it now because we talk every day, who's going to be there for us if the police are not there? We don't like them, which is what they say. I'm being real. We don't like them, but we need them when the op is coming after us. So we do have a vested interest in whatever this vote ends up being. So I think people are stuck between, I don't like them, but when they coming at me with that gun, I'm gonna need somebody to step in between me and them. So I think a lot of the issue now, even with that, is that we still aren't having real conversations with our young people, and especially the young people who are in the street, not to kill, but they're in situations that become a kill or be killed situation. So I don't know if you guys understand that, but I think the voices that are heard the least are those.
What do you think would be an effective way to reach the youth today? You know, in a safe way where people could be honest and open and not, you know, feel threatened?
Well, first you got to know who you're talking to, because it's different sets. So I call them cliques. I don't really call them gangs, because gangs have more rules. And I don't see that in these youth. But they are voices that we need to stop and listen to. So I think there are people like the Reverend McAfee and Ferrone Brown. They know the identity of all the young people. The need to call a truce so that you can get them in a space to talk to them. That's the number one thing that has to happen. But every time they're starting to do that, something happens that just erodes the whole process. So I think that they haven't been allowed the time or the funding to make that happen so that we have more truce, and to teach our young people about de-escalation skills and how just even the small disrespect, like if you step on my toe and you say, excuse me, I'm gonna say, oh no, no problem. But if you step on some of their toe, they got something to say about you stepping on their toe. So it's just a whole different way that you have to talk to them. And there's certain people in the community that can have those conversations. So if you've never been in their shoes, the chance of having a very successful conversation with them is probably going to be a little bit slim. But for me, they know my background. They know my background is a law enforcement background. Some of the very people who I arrested back in the day are my Facebook friends, have my phone number to call me and bounce things off of me. But any young person in the street, when they know me, see me, they know my background. That has been shared throughout the community, but they don't recognize me as a threat. Now, activists say ridiculous stuff about me, but people in the community don't feel that way about me. But I think it boils down to, it's not all about poverty. Please, I'm so tired of hearing that. I think it's insulting to say that it's all about poverty, because then you would be telling the 28 people who work for me that it's all about poverty. And we would all say to you, no, it's not. We all came from poverty. Now, we made some mistakes, but we made those mistakes by choice. We didn't make those mistakes because we were poor. I think I find that so insulting every time I hear that. But it's not just about poverty. That's a component of it. But a lot of it is lack of education, people not caring enough to hear them, but you continue to speak for them. A lot of it is unresolved trauma. That's a real big part of it. You can't kill somebody's friends every week, every month, and expect that they are going to be nice. A lot of it is unresolved trauma, and we don't really focus on that. So if you kill my kid, if I'm the parent and you kill my kids in my house now have to deal with me angry, scared, sad, emotional, and there's nobody coming to offer them any help because you didn't come to offer me any help. So my kids are going to keep remembering that you killed somebody killed their sibling, because they continue to live through my pain. So when I say, if you save the mother, you save the child, I mean that when I say that. Because if I'm broke, my kids are broken. So when people take my kids out to do a youth event, or they go to school for the hours that they go to school, they still have to come home to me. So if I'm broken, they're broken. If I'm broken, my house is broken. So you didn't fix anything. You just gave my kids a break from the pain. I don't have to be beating my kids to mentally beat my kids, because I'm projecting all the pain that's within me on my kids. So we ask you to save the mother, you save the child. To save the father, you save the family. I don't care if that father is in the house or not. He is still a part of that child. So if you save the family, that's where we keep missing the mark. If you save the family, you will save the community. You will reduce some of the violence in the community. You cannot fix a kid and you not fix their parents. You can't.
Touching on de-escalation, what are some examples of de-escalation techniques that have worked best for you and a mother's love?
Oh, we'll pull them right in. We have no shame. We will get in the middle of some girls fighting. We'll get in the middle of some guys fighting. I'll say this about Black men. They can be disrespectful at times, but it's something about mothers that really matters to our Black men. And I'm sure it's the bond and the nurturing that we had from the womb, but we don't get that level of disrespect from our Black men in the community. And it was the same way for me as a cop. If somebody was coming for me on the street, it would be even gang members that would come and say, no, not that one. But I think it's because they see us as mothers, as aunts, as sisters, as girl cousins, as grandparents, and that level of respect that we get from that. We get some cussing and stuff in front of us, but we're able to say, hey, come on now, you're going too far. And I'm sorry, ma'am. But it's the de-escalation piece is getting in between them, talking to them, pulling them aside, pulling them in. And I'm notorious for calling Reverend McAfee. It could be midnight and I'll say, hey, I need you. I got this, what happened. I got these two people. He's from this gang, he's from that gang, and I need somebody to get in between that. And then he'll call the people from the community who are considered original gang members. When I say OGs in that case, I mean original gang members. He will call them and say, hey, we got to squash this. And then they start doing their work. I never try to do somebody else's work. I will do what I can on the scene. I will make the necessary phone calls. I'm a partnership kind of person. So I will make the necessary phone calls, but if I got to deal with it on the scene, I deal with it on the scene. As when I say I'm talking about a mother's love. We work as a team.
How would you,
But de-escalation, let me just say this, that is the key thing that's lacking in our youth. So if we had a community center to deal with at-risk youth, I call them at-risk youth because I see them as the throwaways, and I don't want them thrown away. I want to catch everybody that you trying to throw away or put away. So when I say de-escalation, I'm saying that we need, I talk with my hands, I'm apologizing to everybody. But when I say we need a space to bring them to, I mean that, because you can't teach de-escalation one time and think that took. So we need a place that we can do things repeatedly so that it becomes a part of who they are. Something that says, I need you to pause and think, because this action you're getting ready to take right now could land you in prison or in your grave. And I'm not trying to get either one of those things to happen right now. So we need to bring that down and have a conversation about that. And then you bring the resources to them immediately. What we learned when we were downtown, especially for homeless people, if they can make it through the night, they feel like they can make it through the next day. I want to get them what they need that night. I don't want them to have to wait till the next day. And that's the resources that we have now. That's what it is. I think everybody should have an emergency on-call person. I think every organization that gets city, state, county, federal, I don't care what money you get. I think you should have a person that somebody can reach all the time. So if that's an overnight person and you're paying them to work overnights, they should be answering that phone to get some help. I answer mine.
for people, wondering what they can do, today, to help, what are some practical steps or actions you could recommend or suggest for people that they could do to help be part of, pushing for peace today?
If there's a young person out there and you can talk to them, stop and listen. Say a prayer over them. Y'all will be real surprised at how many young people come and ask you, can you pray for me? They may have fallen away from the church, but their family members haven't. And that's the biggest reason why I always push for clergy to be part of something, or churches to be, because regardless of whether you go to church or she go to church or I go to church, there's a lot of families in the church. So when there's shootings and crimes happening in the community, the first people I call is Black clergy, because I can promise you that the family members of those engaged in this activity in our community go to one of those Black churches. So you have to be able to have clergy at every table. But I think that we need to encourage kids to speak up and be part of the process. We need to not be trying to make them choose a side. That's where we go wrong. We should stop trying to make them choose a side, because what we're really doing is pushing us off on them. Because I can talk to young people and they could say, I've never had a bad experience with the police, but my friend has, my brother has, my dad has, but I've never had one. Or on the other hand, you'll meet that one that say, every time I see them, they stop me and harass me. I don't be doing nothing, they just stop me and harass me. So if I'm saying, well, let's get rid of them, and I'm saying, well, let's keep them, I'm trying to tell them what their future is going to look like, instead of asking them, what do you want your future to look like? We keep making decisions for them without them being at any table. And I don't think any table should be set that does not have youth at it. That will make them calm down if they have a say in these processes. But right now they don't have a say.
Has there ever been a sit down like that with youth?
I invite youth to everything I do. I employ youth with a mother's love, and I employ youth who have never had a problem and youth who have had a problem, because that's the only way we learn. Because we keep telling them back in my day, but we had some problems back in our day too. We had some absent parents. We had some addicted parents. I mean, we didn't have perfect childhoods, but what we did have were rules to follow that sometimes we broke, a moral compass instilled in us that sometimes we didn't follow, value system instilled in us. Black people, contrary to anybody's belief, we have had all those things instilled in us. In every child's life, you have met somebody positive. I don't care who you were. I don't care who you are. I don't care if it was a teacher, your doctor, a nurse, a coach, a boots on the ground person, your employer. I don't care who it was. Everybody had somebody positive in their life. The problem for our youth is not enough positive people in their life. They don't want to be out here doing this. I promise you, they don't want to be out here doing this. But a lot of it is, I got to carry a gun because they after my friend. And if I'm caught slipping, they going to get me too. Or a lot of it is judges releasing young people. It's everybody's fault. I think my point is, it's everybody's fault. We have judges who release them right back into the community, in a community that is a kill or be killed situation for some of those young people. So we'll release them right back into the same community. We have no plan for them. We have no real resources set up for them. So we put them through the revolving door where I think my chair is sinking. Is my chair sinking? Don't y'all laugh at me. But we put them right back out in a community where we're asking them to fend for themselves. So it's a kill or be killed situation, but we don't send them back out with a plan or resources. We are notorious for that in Minneapolis, in the state of Minnesota, and across this country, to not have a plan for young people who are out here in this struggle. Whether it be homelessness, I don't care what it is. Whether it be a criminal background, I don't care what it is. The first time we do something for real is when we put them in prison when they turn 18 of a legal age to go be somebody else's slave. That's us showing I'm doing something. But we didn't do anything the entire time that they were youth, except for put them through a revolving door of a criminal justice system. That has to stop. We asked a simple thing. When I was on the Department of Justice, I don't know how much time we got left, but when I get comfortable, I get comfortable. But they had us on this team for the Department of Justice. And so we were putting some things together, myself, Manu Lewis, Lisa Delgado, and some other people from the community. But we said we wanted a curfew center in North Minneapolis and South Minneapolis, so that but we wanted it to be staffed by people from the community. And that in that space, it would be all the resources that a family would need. So when the mom had to come to get their kid from the curfew center, we had something to offer him or her. I'm sorry, the mom or the dad. I need to be respectful of that, because there's a lot of single fathers out there. But we need to make sure that the resources that family may need and a mentor or contact person for them to reach out to was within that space. Nothing we suggested from the community side was ever used in the community. But they did put up little book houses in the community, but nothing that we suggested was ever utilized in the community or put to use in the community. So I think we do a lot of meeting, a lot of talking, but we don't do a lot of doing. And that's the downfall of the community. We are not consistent in anything that we do, and we don't follow up. And a Mother's Love now, we're part of Sisters Helping Sisters. which is the greatest thing in the world to me right now. But it's from probation to prosperity. So it's just a table of Black women. We partnered with Salem Inc. to help young Black women and older Black women who have been in the criminal justice system, to give them the skills that they may not have gotten. We assume everybody knows how to do everything, and it's not true. There's a lot of people who have no idea how to read a lease, or have no idea how to check on their credit, or how to rebuild their credit. So the simplest things, or how to grocery shop on a budget. Nobody's ever taught them those things. So we're trying to start from that point and build success from that point, and then teach them how to be employed, how to work for different bosses, how to invest in their own education in order to build on that success and that prosperity for them.
That is great. And we don't have much time, but I just wanted to, touch on just a couple of points before, and then let you have a last thought. The point about, there's a lot of talk and not a lot of action. This is not a new thought. People have been talking, this is a cycle of violence and war and trauma that's been going on for a long time. And I think people have a lot of good ideas for solutions, but the follow through on that is what's lacking. And, in this discussion here, you've had a lot of great points. And, I think there's a lot of people in Minneapolis who are doing great work, but it is siloed, as you've said before, and unity is the key, to bringing the community together, to creating more, stronger communities and more peaceful communities. And that starts with education and opportunity. And I think, teaching life skills is a really valuable and important point, that people sometimes take for granted. I think that the simplest thing, sometimes people, you were taught that at one point, and you forget that somebody had to teach you how to do almost everything that you know how to do today. You didn't just magically learn it. And I think, for people who maybe are taking these skills for granted, there's a lot of expertise that people could give back to lots of people, and I think it's bringing that knowledge, those people who have skills to start. That's I think what part of building community is about, and giving back to the community. It's not just giving money, it's not just giving time, but it's giving knowledge. And I think it's really important, but I think you are doing that, but I think, you need more resources. And, I'm hopeful that, we can continue to help raise awareness of the work you're doing, and it will lead to more resources, because you should have more resources, because this is the kind of positive work that is going to make the community better and stronger and more peaceful. And that's what most people want, is to live in peace. And that's what you're doing. And so I want to thank you for the work you're doing. I want to thank all of, your team and A Mother's Love for the great work that they're doing. And, I appreciate it. We appreciate all of you. And thank you for being here and sharing your time tonight with us. And I'll give you the last word, Lisa.
I think the success for Minneapolis and any state, it doesn't matter where you're from, is unity. As people being able to work together and not in silos, for resources to be invested year round and not end when the cold weather starts, because all that does is allow it to stew basically until the warm weather comes again, and not having a plan created in June, because that's usually when they start funding again, in June. If we've been killing people all winter long and all into the spring, why are we having a plan to address the summer in June? It just doesn't make sense. But I think that unifying all of the organizations, I think anybody who's getting this, let me say this quickly, the city, the county, the state, and the federal government should call in everybody that they're giving money to and say, I don't care if you have to do it in a retreat, and say, what are you doing? And what can we do to be better? And how can we do it together? So if you're working with youth and there's 10 of y'all and you're doing 10 different things and you don't even know who each other is, how can you help the youth? So they should be all pulled into one room and say, and they need to say what they're doing, because they really are doing good work. You guys just can't see it because they operate in silos. Some of them don't even know the others exist. Same thing with the Mothers Lovers. There's another mothers group out there doing something. I don't know it. But on the violence piece, I know that Raisha Williams, Guns Down, Love Up, I know she's out there doing the work, but we don't always do it together. So you can have a better bang for your dollar if we work together.
What gives you hope? And this from a question from the community will end it here. What gives you hope and keeps you going?
That we at some point will remove politics out of saving lives and helping people. Because I think once we remove politics and politicians out of it, we can actually see some real change. Because when they speak, it's to get your vote. But when we speak, it's to get safety, harmony, and bodies into colleges and not into a grave and a prison. And the only way we can make that happen is to remove politics from the work that we all do. And that includes me, because you know I clap back on them too, but we need to remove politics from it.
On that note, just want to, thank Lisa again. Peace is not easy to achieve, but it's not an impossible dream. First people have to have the will to want to achieve peace, and then people have to have a peace plan with practical, realistic steps to address, and create viable solutions. That's how we get to peace.
Can I say this last thing?
Yeah.
If you don't know why the violence is happening, you should really stop talking about it. We know why the violence is happening, and it's for a whole lot of different reasons, but people think it's just about poverty. These are like 10-year-old arguments. He'd been in prison 10 years and now he out, but I ain't forget what you did to go to prison. You got to pay for that. So it's a whole lot more than just poverty. That's all I'll say.
That's the truth. And I think people need to start listening. Listening is a skill that we need to get back to doing more, even if people disagree. It's important to listen and learn, and get back to a level of civilized discourse. Gotten away with that. I've gotten away from that with social media. People, we have to kind of go back to the basics and talking to people, learning how to talk to people in person, shake their hands, look them in the eye, and these types of things. And I think if we kind of go back to the roots and the basics, we can get back to a level of humanity that can help us get to where we need to be. But I, just want to make a few announcements before we say goodnight. Thank you to Lisa again. Thank you to A Mother's Love. Thank you to Cub Foods for sponsoring this talk. Lena has an event this weekend it's Halloween. We have a Halloween scavenger hunt at Mueller Park from 1 to 3. If you're looking for a fun and safe way to celebrate Halloween, come on down to Mueller Park in the Wedge. All are welcome, all ages, anyone who wants to celebrate and get together with community. Next Tuesday is November 2nd. It is an election day in Minneapolis. It does involve politics, but if you are going to vote, I recommend everyone vote if you can. Register to vote, use your voice, make your voice heard. Before you do vote, learn about the candidates, learn about the issues, be informed about what you're voting on as much as you can. There are voter guides out there that can help you get informed. A new news service in Southwest Minneapolis is Southwest Voices. They have voter guides to help provide information to people about the issues and the candidates. Southwest Voices has partnered with neighborhood associations such as Lowry Hill East, our neighborhood association. They started a membership program, and as part of the membership fees, all the neighborhood associations will be getting donations from Southwest Voices. So when people become members and they live in a neighborhood, a specific neighborhood, portion of that will go to neighborhood associations. So If you become a member, you'll be helping grow a new news service, which is a local news service. We need more local news. You'll also be helping support neighborhood associations. So it's all about bringing people together, working together, helping our neighbors. This is how we build peace in our community. And this is what Lisa and Mother's Love are doing every day, is what Carrie Higgs and Cub Foods are doing, is what Lena is doing. We need more people in our communities in Minneapolis, young and old, to continue to work together to create community and push for peace. It starts at home. Peace is not easy. Every day, it's not easy, but it's worth the effort. If we get enough people pushing for peace, moving in the right direction and positive direction, providing positive role models and positive actions, we can make peace a reality in Minneapolis and a model for the world. Once again, thank you all for joining us. Appreciate Lisa's time, appreciate everyone in the audience. Our next LHENA talk will be Wednesday, November 24th. Our speaker will be Eric Wong. Eric is a retired leadership consultant with over 35 years of experience guiding government, corporate, nonprofit, community leaders. The title of his talk will be How Communities Can Support Civic Transformation in Minneapolis. And he's going to talk about bringing up a new generation of leaders and the tools we need to offer so that they can be successful in a rapidly changing world. We hope to see you at that LHENA talk. Until then, please keep supporting local businesses.
Eric.
Yes.
Can I just thank Safe Streets before you end? We're a Mother's Love, We Push for Peace, Salem Inc. We all fall under Safe Streets. So that's partnered with the YMCA in North Minneapolis. And I just wanted to make sure that I didn't thank Safe Streets and Our Flowers for bringing us all together under one umbrella to do the work that we do. Thank you for letting me do that.
Definitely, and thank you. Very important work. Continue, just look for ways that we can unite the community. That's the key. And we're going to continue to look for ways that we can support the community and work across, communities, so we're not in silos anymore, we're more united. Putting that positive energy and actions into our community is how we are going to strengthen our community and help our whole community and all communities grow stronger and create peace. So thank you all again. Have a great night and peace.